some landscaping, but we don't have like backhoes and stuff.
Oh, no?
There's a bobcat that we have a friend that will get kind of in there, but.
Okay, so you kind of know what's going on, obviously, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Tough situation. How are the kids handling it?
They're taking it really well. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's completely sunk in. They're just kind of more distracted, and right now I've been living at my parents' house, so it's been kind of nice for them, and
Sure.
you know, I can be free to work and they can take care of them. But yeah, they're pretty strong kids, so.
Yeah, when they came in for the DNA thing, they seemed pretty strong and seemed to kind of understand what was going on and whatever, so.
And we're a pretty Christian family, so, you know, they understand that they can talk to her, you know, here and there. We've been praying more every night, and,
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's still been pretty tough.
Imagine. So it's my understanding you guys had a pretty good relationship as far as, I mean, as good as you can expect with being an ex and all. So I guess basically it's my understanding no one really has talked to you at all about that. You know, and obviously in situations like this it's important to get everyone that's close with hers information.
Yeah.
Find out, you know, if there's possibly anything they knew at all about other outside things, other factors in her life or anything like that. I understand you being an ex, maybe not as much information, but I mean, you're in contact with her a lot.
Yeah.
Would be my guess because of the kids and stuff. So what's your guys' normal relationship like as far as for the kids go?
I'd have them on the weekends. She have them weekdays, so
Okay.
I drop them off at school. Sometimes I drop off, you know, their instruments or something on a Monday morning. Occasionally we talk for a little bit because, you know, I've been having issues with, you know, the divorce, and I want to get out dating. I've been on one date in 3.5 years since we've been divorced, so I've been kind of down and, you know, talking with her, and I felt like she was at least, you know, someone I could really talk with here and there. And then Fridays, usually pick up the kids from school, but occasionally I'd, you know, get them from her house or Doug's house, and or pick up, you know, something I needed before I got the kids. And that's pretty much it. There's a couple of times where, you know, we hung out with the kids, and you know, like on New Year's we went out to lunch, and but that was probably 2-3 occasions, you know, since we've been divorced. So.
And how long has that been? 3.5 years?
We separated in August of 2012.
Okay, so yeah,
August, September-ish. Yeah,
so these 4 years coming up here.
Yeah.
Did she ever tell you anything about Doug?
Not a whole lot. I found out more about him, you know, from other people, and my brother, his wife is a friend that's very close friends with his ex, and knew that he was beating her.
Okay.
And apparently her father was a police officer, and I don't know her name, but apparently she was beaten so bad that she actually had to call. I'm not sure if it was a dad picked her up or a friend that picked her up, but she didn't file a report because she was scared for her life.
Okay.
And apparently we heard that he was, you know, a fighter in high school, and I just met him once. That was when she was at the apartment before she moved to Parker there. And I just shook his hand and said, "Nice to meet you." That was about it. And then one other time he was just on the couch when I was, you know, picking up some stuff, and I think he said bye or something. So, yeah, I don't really know him that well. I had a friend of a friend that used to kind of hang around with him here and there, just, you know, cookouts. They were in a duplex, and the other side, he was friends with a guy on the other side of the duplex, and yeah, he seemed like a nice guy, and I asked my kids about him, you know, if he ever hit him. They said no, barely even, you know, yelled at him. There was a couple times where he, you know, scolded him for, you know, but I guess he was a little controlling. He didn't let a lot of toys because he's trying to sell the house, so I understand you don't want toys laying around, but, yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, Michaela has this little loom band thing, these little rubber band bracelets that she makes, and she put it in a box. She thought it was just going, you know, away and it went to storage, so there's just little things that, my brother actually helped me write down a couple of things I want to make sure I brought up and so I didn't forget anything. I know the kids mentioned, they heard Nicole say that Doug doesn't trust himself.
Trust himself?
Yeah, like, 'cause he knows he has a temper.
Okay.
And, the other thing was, they heard them, they were sleeping and they heard them fighting, and, they woke up from it. I don't think they got up, but they could hear some fighting, and apparently, like, a picture was broken and a phone case was broken, and in the morning, they didn't even get it cleaned up before the morning. The kids walked downstairs and there's glass on the floor.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know why they were probably both so mad that they didn't bother cleaning it up, and,
what would they fight over, do you know?
I don't know. I asked the kids and they couldn't, they're fighting and
Right.
swearing, and we did hear that she could have had a relationship with one of his friends,
Really?
which would have been a lot of motive.
Which friend is
And,
that?
I don't know. And they actually reported on the news that she took a paternity test. So we weren't even sure if it was, his kid. We're kind of, in one way, hoping. Yeah, Channel 2 ran that she took a test, and then when I talked to Heather about it, she's like, oh, no, she filed for it, but then she never took it. And then last time I talked to Heather, she said that it was done, and Doug is the father. So Heather was kind of disappointed in that. Well, she doesn't want to think her sister do that, but
Right.
when we were married, and she went to a party and made out with another guy. So she cheated on me. Yeah, it's not an affair, but
Right.
she didn't understand that it was wrong, and
she may not make the best decisions.
Yeah,
drinking.
she was always very wild, very
Sure.
free-spirited. We were down in Florida for a family vacation. We had a little fight or whatever, and she went off with like 3-4 Jamaican guys for like 3-4 hours. Just like, he had no idea what, they could have done to her. And she's just always like that, she just thought she was invincible.
Right.
Very, very reckless. And apparently we did know that they were fighting that night. They, were at that concert, and then they split off, and then I guess they were at Jekyll and Hyde. And they
Who told you that?
I think it was Heather, because they talked to some of the bartenders there, and the bartenders said, yeah, I saw those two fighting in here, and then...
How long was that? Right after?
That was pretty much right after.
Well, because we followed up on that, and they had a complete different description of the people after the fact.
Oh, okay.
So I don't believe that was the case. It was just one bar patron that said, yeah, I thought I saw him in here arguing or whatever.
Yeah, you don't know how loaded they were.
Right, and there's a lot of misinformation out there as far as rumors and stuff go. There's surveillance cameras of them or of at different bar, sardine can.
Yeah.
But not anywhere else.
Not
Not that we know of.
Yeah, like Jekyll and Hyde was right down the road or something.
Right.
Yeah, because I know Doug wasn't at Sardine Can, so that's why I was a little confused on why he was there. Because I heard that her and it was Doug's friends tried to get Nicole into a cab, and then she was just throwing a fit. I guess she's like laying down in the street, like kicking her feet up. They were trying to get her, corralled, and.
Is this all stuff you heard from Heather? Do you know any of her other friends?
Well, the one person that I don't know, Sean, my brother Sean is, he's really, worried, and he wants to make sure we have everything covered. Have you talked to Dallas yet? Because she was the one watching, yeah. And apparently, Doug and a friend, I don't know if it was a friend or it was a brother, showed up there. It was a friend, right?
Yeah.
They showed up there, and then they were just, she asked where Nicole was, and he's like, oh, kind of
right.
wasn't acting normal. And it was it found that he was on, we heard that he might have been on coke and other drugs that night too?
That I don't know.
Okay. And then we did hear from Steve Meyer, that he thought that his parents are, you know, very wealthy,
Mhm.
might have bought off a couple other women too to stay silent that he beat too.
Sure.
So.
We've reached out to a lot of,
Yeah, 'cause
people in his life, and a lot of people have come forward since then. You know, there's some still things that we're still trying to answer as far as her timeline goes. So it has us, you know, in a little bit of a guessing game here. I shouldn't say guessing game, but just a little bit of unknown. So that's kind of what we're trying to fill in. When's the last time you heard from her then?
Well, it was on Friday when I talked to her and got the kids, because did they have school that day? I think she picked them up from school, and then I picked them up around 4 or 5.
From her house?
Yeah, well, Doug's house, yeah.
Doug's house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think it was the night after. Yeah, it must have been the night after that Vicki called me and, have you heard from Nicole? And I'm like, no, didn't think anything of it. And then a couple hours later, the sheriff shows up.
Mhm.
He's asking when last.
Did you have any clue what they were doing Friday night? Did she tell you at all, or did she kind of?
Well, she originally said she wouldn't be able to pick up the kids from school because she had plans.
Okay.
And then that changed, so she must have plans earlier and then still planned to go to the concert, because the concert probably was not till, 7 or 8. So I don't know if she was just going to go out with a friend beforehand or what it was, but whatever those plans were, she either got pushed back or canceled. Okay. She didn't say what. She didn't even mention that she was going to the concert.
That's what I was going to say. So she didn't tell you what her plans were or anything like that?
Yeah, I never, talked to her. It was more, when I talked to her, it was more about my sister. I never asked, I was curious to see, how her and Doug were doing,
Sure.
if they were in love, but I didn't really want to know because I've been really depressed myself, so part of me wishes, maybe I should, but she probably wouldn't open up to me anyways.
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't have reached out for help, and I don't know, if this was really the first incident.
Right.
And I know from being married with her, she was, she could really provoke you. And I never, struck her. I was, raised never hit women, but I mean, there was a couple times where she could really push your buttons. And we've had contact with, I know this is not permissible in court, but a couple mediums, and we had one medium in Florida. He had just kind of randomly called one of my dad's friends and said, I have this girl, Nicole, reaching out to me. I don't know what this is about, but she's like, or I'm not sure if it was a guy or girl even, but they said that his name starts with a D, and like, well, is it Doug? And like, no, there was someone else too. So we were just, I know you guys are looking into a second person along with Doug, and beyond.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
yeah, we gotta
keep everything open, because you can't narrow it on one person, and there is that gap in the timeline. So I mean, but you're not the first person that I've heard that said that mediums have contacted their family. That's kind of a common thing. Yeah. Where these people will see it in the news, and they'll reach out to family and friends of victims to try and, whatever. And I'm not saying I don't take any value in it, but forget who else it was that told me that. One of our other friends.
Yeah, we have one that's close to us, and then another one, that lived in Florida. So I know his brother's name is Dave.
Okay.
So we were kind of suspicious of him too, and it was, their family's at the funeral, which is kind of awkward. But
where does his brother live?
I'm not sure. I think he's in Green Bay, because I think it's a family company, and I thought Doug was kind of in charge of keeping up the properties, and then Dave was more in the building part of it, I think.
Okay.
And he just had a kid, and so I don't know. I'm sure there would be some sort of communication phone-wise if he did reach out to him, because I don't know if Dave was, with him at that point.
Right.
Let's see, what else do I have written on here?
who do you think that, 'cause after, Nicole had left sardine can after the fight you were talking about with the friends, her phone pretty much died, went dead. So, who do you think that she would call, or know their number, obviously, for phone sets, you'd have to know the number. Who do you think she would call if she needed a ride, or if she needed help, or something like that?
I don't know. I wouldn't think she'd call her dad, because she always felt like her parents and her family didn't help her much. Heather would help her out, but she was, she's got her hands full herself. But, I mean, she said this to me quite a bit, even after we broke up, that's why she occasionally I'd take him on a weekday, because she couldn't get help from her mom, and her mom would help out, but, she's really busy, and then every time she would help out, she'd kind of complain to Nicole. I know some of her close friends, couple of them, Caitlin.
Yeah. Any males?
I really don't know.
That were close to her?
There's a guy she went to a concert with, that was a couple of years ago, I don't remember his name. I don't think my brother does either, because he met him. And I don't even know if she even hangs around with him anymore.
Yeah.
I know she went to sardine camp with some of Doc's friends, so I don't know if it was
Right.
more girls than guys.
It was pretty much all girls,
Yeah.
except for one guy.
Okay.
And he was there with his fiance. So, and then they all left. But then her phone died, so that kind of leaves us in a tough spot with phone calls or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and locate, because phones can do all the locations and stuff like that. So it's.
Well, you can still track where the phone was, right?
Not
Even
if it's
that-
off.
Oh, I thought they still could.
No, some phones they do if it stores a little bit of extra battery life, for like to find your iPhone app or for some of that stuff, but.
I know she had a new Galaxy phone.
Yeah.
Same one I have. Yeah, I wish I could help you more on that one.
Alright,
Yeah.
so as far as your relationship with goes, you said you have the kids on the weekends, she has them during the week. You've been apart for 3.5 years pretty much, no major issues since then at all?
No, I mean, we have, I don't think we've really had any other, fights.
What was the issue while you were married, if you don't mind me asking?
We were young, and, I had the second kid on the way, and, as a Christian, I'm like, well, we should probably get married, and I thought I loved her, but she pretty much knew she didn't love me, and she got married for the financial benefits, for, the birth being covered, because we both didn't make a lot of money, so we're covered under Badger Care, and she pretty much knew it wasn't going to last, and then all of a sudden it was just, never really just, went down. It was just kind of the same, and then all of a sudden it was over. So it was kind of a shock to me. I knew it wasn't, perfect, obviously, but yeah, we didn't really, fight all that much. We had similar interests. It's just personality-wise, I thought we kind of balanced each other out, because she just had no filter to her. Basically, a lot of my friends and family thought she was essentially verbally abusive to me occasionally.
Yeah.
I didn't really see it that way, because I just thought she was just kind of harsh and just little subtle things, not just like swearing at me, putting me down. But it was just little subtle digs, and just kind of I don't know if that was her way of motivating me. It was just it didn't work, and it just made me feel like crap most of the time. And I don't think her family saw that side of her as much as mine, and that's why Steve's like, I know your family loved Nicole just as much as us. And I'm just kind of struggling now, because I don't know if, now that she's gone, I miss her quite a bit.
Other than Doug, do you have any thoughts of maybe if who would have done this to her?
Not really. We all kind of suspected Doug, and, you know, a lot of times with these free things, it's...
Well, you know, and that's where everything pointed,
Yeah.
and whatever, especially with a lot of the information we were getting, you know, but not everything always adds up, and there's always other possibilities and avenues that we have to look at. You know, there's obvious things that were disclosed in the media, from the court proceedings and stuff, but a lot of the stuff hasn't been released yet.
Well, I know, because they were looking at 10 pieces of evidence, you know, per segment. Now the Attorney General made an exemption for that, so you can get it all through. And yeah, Heather was she was thinking that they didn't have enough on Doug, but the way you made it sound is like, once the evidence, you know, all comes out.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, the evidence...
You don't know what's going to come.
Right. So the evidence is what it is. You know, the fact when you brought your son in, or your dad did for the DNA, that makes it go by a little bit quicker. Because when they're checking clothes, when they're checking, you know, arms and stuff like that for DNA, if they come across some male DNA, then they can right away know whether it's her kids, who obviously would have had contact with her, purse, you know, clothes, stuff like that.
So you don't really, do you have a weapon yet?
Well, I can't give you that.
Okay, I figured there's some things. Well, and that's why when Heather, it was like the first day her family came out to us, and then, I don't know who she talked to, she made it sound like it was a coroner, but it wasn't a coroner, and then she was told that she was shot in the head. And then obviously it came out later that didn't happen.
Right. A lot of rumors get spread around. I don't know where a lot of that stuff comes from.
It sounded like she got it for someone,
right.
You know.
And that's why we don't release any of that information. So I mean, there's only, you know, besides me and a couple other investigators, there's only one or two people, whoever's responsible for it, that know the answers. So it's important to keep it shut, so that in case someone does come forward, or in case somebody, you know, comes in with information, we can say, well, they didn't get it off the news, or they didn't get it from so-and-so, because we've never told anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're concerned too with him, you know, getting out. But now that his family, we heard that they were suing the city of Green Bay for holding him too long or something, but I don't.
Well, Green Bay would have nothing to do with it. Okay. It's all Brown County.
Okay. Did they file something?
Not that I know.
Okay. I mean, again, it's probably just rumor too, but if even they were thinking about it, that means that they probably think he's innocent, because we were worried about, with the money they have and resources, that they would try to get him out of the country. And
yeah, I mean...
But that's a risk you run, but, you know, I don't think that'll happen, because, you know, now he's got his son back.
Oh, did he get the kid back?
Yeah, on Saturday, Heather got him back, and that was kind of awkward, because my kids were staying over there. And at first I didn't want my kids over at Heather's, because, you know, she had Dylan, but knowing that he was going to be, you know, transferred back to the Detries, we thought it was going to be the parents picking him up. I didn't know it was going to be Doug. Because I didn't, you know, my kids had to see him again. I mean,
yeah, right.
It's just like, and I asked him last night if he said anything to him, and I'm like, Michaela thought he said sorry, but I don't. And then she wasn't sure about it, and Tyler was like, no, I think he just said hi, and I'm like, you gonna say hi back, and, you know, even remember me, there's kind of...
What were the details around that? I haven't heard anything on that. It was the courts forced her to give him back?
Yeah, I think they filed a petition, and then Heather had temporary guardianship.
Right, I knew that.
Yeah, and then she pretty much lost that with the petition, and then the DA told her that it would be harder, you know, for her to get custody than it would be to even prosecute Doug, I think, so.
Well, I mean, he is, well, I don't know the answer to it, if there's ever been DNA done or not. I don't know that, on the kid to match for Doug. You know, if he's not the dad, then obviously her family would have, you know, rights to the child. He hasn't been charged yet with anything, so if he is the dad, they're not going to take the kid away from him unless, you know, there's some sort of extenuating circumstances that he's not fit.
Yeah, that's what she was going to talk to the DA about, because apparently Nicole didn't have him, you know, with just Dylan very many times at all. She really didn't trust him. I don't know if he, you know, it was his first child, so
right.
If it is his child. she just didn't feel all that comfortable. When I asked the kids, like, yeah, I think there was maybe an occasion or two that maybe for an hour or something that, you know, he was with Dylan by himself. But it didn't happen very often. Like I said, I only met him once before they moved in there, and then every time I drop off stuff, pick up things, he was only there once.
Okay.
And I, you know, did that for, you know, full year. So, I mean, that's almost 100 times.
Right.
You know, so he was very rarely even at home. And I know he had you know, he's a hunter, so he did have a, you know, collection of guns, and that's what, I felt a little guilt because this guy was, you know, living with my kids for so long, and if he did have, I'm not sure if does he have a prior criminal record? Because we heard that he didn't, because his parents might have, you know, paid those other women off.
Yeah, there was no prior convictions, I can say that much.
There might have been a domestic dispute or something.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that there wasn't calls or that there wasn't reports done, but there's no prior arrests.
So I'm not even sure if I would have looked him up.
No prior convictions, I should say. Do you have an ID on you?
Yep.
Make it easier. Do you mind if I take a statement from you, a typed up one, just to some of the stuff that we talked about?
That's fine.
Very briefly, and we can keep chatting. I don't know what time you have to be at work, or what time you got something planned.
I'm pretty flexible here. I mean, this is important, so.
Yeah.
I got all week.
Wow, you look a lot different.
Got long hair and a beard. Wow, that's a pretty old picture. I got like the Superman curly thing going on in the front there.
Yeah, that's still like the preppy look or whatever.
I gotta get it next year, in 2017, I'm gonna get a new one.
Yeah, they make those, the new ones are pretty sweet looking.
A different format.
Yep. I just got one, they're pretty slick. So how long have you been living at home with your parents?
Well, it's pretty much since divorce.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You gotta pay child support and stuff, or?
No, because we both didn't make a whole lot of money, so we kind of worked it out. I think it came out that she was going to have to pay me $17, so I just, you know, canceled that out. So, and, you know, I've helped her out here and there with, you know, things if she needed clothes or,
Sure.
You know, give her some cash here and there.
What's your address of your parents?
2851 Hidden Lake Lane.
That's Swamico?
Swamico or Green Bay, yeah. 54313.
There's 660-9623.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys divorced or separated?
We're divorced.
Divorced.
Yeah, we officially divorced in October, I believe it was October 1st of 2013.
been divorced from Nicole since October 1st of 2013, but we're actually separated.
I can't remember if it was August or more September. It's probably more September. September 2012.
It's about late August or early September.
Yeah, I might have not moved out till. I remember it was the 15th. I can't remember if it was September 15th or maybe October 15th, because I was, sleeping on the couch for a month or so.
Where were you guys living in that moment of your ID back?
Law Street.
Oh, okay.
And then she lived there for a year after I left. And then she moved to a couple blocks away on Bismarck. And I think she was there for about a year then, and then she moved to the apartment on Trumpeter Trail in New Pier.
Yeah.
Right behind that. People that live there.
So how long were you guys together for?
I started dating in July of 2003.
Oh. So yeah, I mean, you guys were together for almost 10 years. That's a pretty long time.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
Yeah, we were always family friends. Her dad was a chiropractor. My dad was a holistic dentist, so they always knew each other. So, our families would get together at cookouts and stuff. But she was always 3 years younger than me, and that's a big difference when you're younger.
Sure.
And it was, when she graduated high school, or she started dating her sisters, kind of fixed us up, and. But.
so basically, since the divorce, separation, you've been living with your parents?
Yep. Hence the one date.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough.
Yeah, and then, with work, and my brother had a wedding, so he hasn't been able to pay me what, he owes me a lot of money, and.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he feels really bad, because, there's no way I could be living on my own, I'd be so in debt right now. I'm still a little bit in debt, just trying to pay that off living at home, and it's been a little frustrating. But he's got his stuff paid off, and his wife's been really good in our bond now, so. So I kind of figured it wasn't going to be him paying me off, it was going to be his wife. But, they're together, and she knows that I've been, helping them out, and kind of sacrificing my future a little bit. It, sucks with the kids, but,
But they're number one.
Yeah, so I've just been kind of stuck, because I'd like to, do something else, but then he's got to hire someone else, and take care of all the lawns, and then I do all the billing and maintenance stuff, and have someone he can trust, and it's just felt like I would be really, walking out on. And my younger brother, he quit working for us a couple winters ago, and he was, doing lawns with me years back, and he didn't even give us like a 2-week notice. He was just like, I just got a job in Tweet and Garrett, see you later. Okay. And that was in the middle of winter too, and we plow, so that can be a bit hectic. And there's some storms, like last year, those bigger storms where Sean worked like 60 hours straight, like he doesn't sleep, and I don't know how he does it. Like I can work about 20 hours before I need to just
I'm
somewhere.
the same way.
Yeah.
I get really crappy otherwise.
Yeah. But he can do it. He's been kind of used to getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep the last couple of years, or last 5 years. His body's, I guess, used to it. Alright,
Alright, so Nicole and I had the arrangement that I take the kids on the weekends and that she had them the rest of the time. I did not pay child support to Nicole as we came to the mutual agreement that there would be none from either of us. As far as like, the kids were under Badger care, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is just important just to get some background. It's not vital or anything, but.
Yeah, I kind of figured, I thought about just probably a week or two after it happened, like, wow, I bet there's a good chance they're gonna, ask me to be on trial and testify type. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
maybe, possibly.
your role is probably pretty small.
Yeah, I figured.
You know, a lot of the stuff that you had heard is hearsay about, him beating on her or whatever, because you didn't witness it anything firsthand, or she didn't tell you about it firsthand. So if it's something that you heard it through somebody else, then that's hearsay and it's not really admissible anyways. If you had any direct knowledge of it, you'd be able to testify as to what your kids told you. We don't want to drag the kids in. I'm happy to hear that you guys have talked to them about him abusing them or anything, because that was probably going to be something we did later on. Obviously, they're traumatized enough now that we didn't want to drag them through something like that. But it would have been important to bring them into it's called the Child Advocacy Center, and have a specialist just sit down and see if there's anything that would have came out, to make sure that there was no abuse or anything going on. Now they're not with him anymore at all, so I think that they'd probably be a little bit more comfortable in maybe saying something. So if that comes out, obviously let us know. But it sounds like you guys have already talked to him.
I'll bring it up again, but I'm
just,
pretty,
whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
subtly, yeah.
Because now that they're not going to be around him anymore, they probably wouldn't have any reason to be afraid of him, as afraid of him, because they're not in the same house as him. So do you have the kids now pretty much all the time, or?
Yeah.
Your parents?
Yeah, my parents there, so, occasionally, Heather wants them over every other weekend or something to hang out with Lamb.
No, and that's good.
Yeah. So, that's one good thing, is they kind of miss, seeing their family. It's not the way that, I'd like to see them. It's after tragedy, but I didn't really see their family a whole lot. So do you have any timeline on when that, so basically you gotta wait for all the evidence to be run through before you can...
Kind of, and unless something gets answered within that. DNA, unfortunately, it's not like the movies and the TV shows that they can take all the stuff, shove it into some magical machine, and then it spits out an answer.
Yeah.
Every piece of evidence has to be gone through, and the fact that they live together, that Doug and Nicole live together, obviously some of Doug's DNA is going to be on her clothes, things of that nature. So it's tough. You have to sort through that. I mean, what's normal, what's not normal for someone that lives together. They say that if you live with somebody for any period of time, obviously you do your laundry together, you sleep in the same bed, so you're going to have dead skin cells, you're going to have all sorts of the other person's DNA on you, depending upon how clean you live, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's tough, because a lot of the DNA stuff on his end is going to be explainable. And it's a matter of seeing if there's any unknown DNA or anything like that would be located. So it's a long process, and there's a lot of things in this case that are not normal. I guess I shouldn't say not normal, because no homicide is normal. But a lot of different things that we have to deal with. So
you got an idea about where it happened, though, or?
Yes, yes. What was released in the news was accurate.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been watching the news, it's too hard for me, so.
So right from the get-go, yeah.
Is it like Broadway area or something, or anything?
No, you know, the blood and stuff that was found in front of his house was Nicole's.
Yeah.
So that's where it happened.
Okay.
And then obviously, you know, the body.
Yeah, it was on
where it was located or whatever.
Was it, so if you take Monroe, is it right, that farm field right on the right then? Or is it the one down Hoffman on the left?
Hoffman.
Okay. Yeah, we actually know that I went to school with the 13-year-old that found the body with his uncle or grandpa. It was one of the girls I went to school with, her son, 13.
Oh, right.
Jeez. And from sounds of what her body looked like, that had to be completely traumatizing for him.
Yeah.
And when I told the kids what happened, I told her, she was shocked, but I could explain, it was a quick, painless death, and then it came out that she was, strangled, and, maybe her throat slit, and we heard that her teeth might have been pulled, and that was probably rumors, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of rumors.
Okay. But, and then she was beaten with baseball bats.
Who told you that?
I don't know where we heard that one. I'm not sure. I know Steve's the one that told me that he heard that the Detries might have paid off, a couple other women. But if there was, I don't know how. That can be shown if it ever went to court and it was just a settlement, but there's still a transaction there, so I don't know if that's really anything that's going to be permissible in court or not. Just kind of shows, and that's what's so frustrating. If that's the case, it's just we put a lot of blame on the parents for enabling them. It's okay. Well, we got money. We'll it's okay to beat women. We'll just buy them off and buy their silence and I don't know if Nicole knew about his history or not, but if she did, I'd be kind of pissed at her for putting my kids in that situation with him, so I like to think she didn't know, or she thought it would change, but, they're real similar personalities, were they? But
was she a big drinker?
Yeah. I mean, she didn't drink every night, but, when she did drink, she drank, and, there was a period, that was when she was at Bismarck, where, she was, a couple occasions drinking whilst the kids were at the house, which aggravated me, and there was a time that, she could have been gone a couple of years ago, because I guess it was right around Christmas, when she was at Bismarck, so that was probably 2014, I'm guessing. I don't know if she was there. And, she's had issues. Her childhood was rough, and she helped, raise her three siblings, younger siblings, because their dad was kind of missing in action here and there. But I had to throw away a bottle of pills. She was drinking one night, super depressed, and took a handful of pills, and if she didn't throw up that night, she might have passed. So the next day she told me that, and I took the pills away and threw them out. What are you doing? So she's had some, addiction problems, but she's not like she drinks every night, and especially after, she had Dylan, she's, settled down, but, on the weekends, I have the kids, and she can go out and party, and from what I heard, Doug, likes to drink too, and I guess they fight, quite a bit, because they're both, kind of the fire personalities, where they really go at each other here and there.
Yeah. So the last time you saw her was, last time I saw Nicole was the Friday that she was last seen before going out for the night. Nicole and I had arranged for me to pick up our children from her and Doug's house that Friday.
Yeah, it was about 5 o'clock when I we left there.
Hey, but you didn't know what her plans were, you just knew she was going out?
Yeah.
Was Doug home?
No. But she never really had an issue. It was mostly alcohol. I don't think she's ever done coke unless, if Doug was on it or something, or, maybe she did a couple times, but she never had an issue with hard drugs or anything.
So when you picked them up, you spoke briefly with her, and then left with the children?
Yep. Probably 5 minutes.
And when were you supposed to be dropping them off, or what was the arrangement for that?
I think they still had school they had school the next week because we were off, so I would have just dropped them off at school that Monday, and then she picks them up.
I gotcha.
And then they didn't end up going back to school till Wednesday, and I wasn't sure, because it was only 2 weeks of school, so I wasn't sure if she didn't go back, and
Right.
I asked the kids, and they wanted to go back, and I think they made the right choice.
Right,
Help back to
their
normal.
minds, yeah, right. So she didn't call you or text you, or you guys didn't have any contact at all Friday night while she was out?
No.
Or nothing? Okay.
The last text I got from her was, it's hard to even see her name on my phone, it's just, she just said we are waiting at 4:30, so, I picked them up a little before 5 then.
Okay.
That was the last time I got that.
So what did you do once you picked up the kids, went to your parents' house?
Yeah.
And then stayed in for the night, or?
Yeah, we didn't go out. We just watched a movie.
Okay.
Watched the movie Saturday. I don't know, I think that was, I don't know if we watched a movie, we just hung out. So last month it's been
Yeah,
blur.
It's been a month.
I know pretty sure we didn't do anything, because I would've, told that to
Okay.
the sheriff. I don't know if we, just probably watched TV or watched a movie we watched a movie Saturday night, because I remember we had to pause the movie, and they turned something else on, so they didn't, I don't think they even knew.
But once you guys got home that night, you didn't go out and do
No.
nothing? Okay.
And my brother almost called me to go to that concert too, because I don't know if his wife didn't want to go or he found someone else, so. He almost called me, so I could have even ran into her at the show. But it's not like she would have been fighting with Doug and then, she wouldn't have came home or, got a ride from me, obviously, even though she didn't even leave with Doug. And she took a taxi back to Sardine Can or something with her. Or unless she just drove with Doug's friends, I'm not sure how she got back to Sardine Can, but, from the watering hole there. But, she would never call me. Even though I'm not that far away, could easily, pick her up.
So you're not somebody that you think she'd call?
No.
Maybe if she was in a super duper pinch, or not even
I
that?
don't think so.
No.
She hasn't. She's never really called me to, talk about anything, and it's mostly me calling her and complaining about my life.
Okay.
And then, we've had some good talks since we divorced, and she said some things that, didn't make a lot of sense, and one of the most odd thing she's ever said to me, and this goes to the no filter thing, and we were having a good talk, probably talking for an hour, and then she's like, you know, I can say whatever I want to people, they don't have to take it negatively. I'm like, well, you say negative things to people, and they're gonna take it the way it's intended to be taken, and like your words and actions have consequences on other people, and it's just, she didn't get that, and she just was wired that way, that she could.
She like that all the time, even
Yeah.
drinking or not drinking?
Yeah, it was much worse when she was drinking.
Yeah,
the verbal stuff towards me was a lot more, probably 80-90% of what my parents and my friends saw.
Right.
Was, you know, her putting me down, and that was, you know, from her drinking. You know, at first she, you know, be real funny, outgoing, you know, real giddy, and then she get just kind of stupid sometimes, and there's times around my friends where I get embarrassed, you know, like, what are you doing, what are you saying, like, she just goes off the cuff, and part of that I liked because she didn't, you know, care what other people think about her, which is a good thing, which is a good thing, and I have, you know, I thought it would kind of balance me out, because I, you know, I think I analyze too much, I don't say stuff, because not that I'm afraid, I'm not PC, so I'm not afraid I'm going to offend anyone, but I'm not sure of my words and don't want to come off sounding like an idiot, essentially, but she did not care about that, and a lot of my friends, they didn't say anything until we were separated, like, she was not that good, we didn't really respect her, and there's a couple times we left some parties or whatever, like, I feel like they, you know, they don't even like us or something like that, and I kind of felt that too. I thought it was a little bit towards me even, because, you know, a lot of my friends have careers, and they never like said anything, but it just kind of felt like, you know, they looked down on us a little bit, but it was more directed towards her.
Because we were drinking and stuff?
Yeah, and then the way she would, you know,
attitude
towards me, and just kind of, like I said, real subtle things. It wasn't her swearing at me, telling me I'm an idiot and a failure and all that. It was just little subtle digs, and most of the time I just brush it off. I didn't escalate things. I'm not very confrontational. But it was just like 9 years, and in some ways it just feels like one big lie, and it's tough to deal with when she tells you that. I mean, she told me she never had feelings for me, that I never got in her head, and just made me feel like an idiot. And I'm not the brightest guy, but I mean, I went to a year at UW-Madison. I'm not an idiot. Of course, flunked out, went to an engineering program because my guidance counselor told me I wouldn't get in because I had like a 22 on my ACTs, which is average. He's like, you're not going to get in with that, but my grade point was like 3.83, and got in. My best friend got in, so I'm like, oh, I probably should go. And then they didn't tell you it was like a 75-80% dropout rate in the engineering program.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my buddy was much smarter than me, ended up transferring to Milwaukee, but I think he transferred after a couple of years, but I'm not sure if that was academic or because his wife went to UW, or his fiance, I'm not sure at the time. They're probably just boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, but, and then I went to Southwest Tech in 2005, 2006, got my associate's degree in golf course management, because I'm a big golfer, but I like to golf. I don't like to really work on the golf course. I figured that out. And the other side, I'm not a morning person. I don't like working at 5 in the morning. And I get home, you're done at 1 or 2, but you're just dead tired and just like, I almost feel like you need to take a nap. And I didn't like, you know, the spraying and stuff, the pesticides, it got to me.
Sure.
And my dad being a dentist and, you know, brought up on good nutrition, and I kind of did some little bit of research, and you know, cancer was an issue for a lot of superintendents with all the pesticides and stuff they use. And even all masks, I had masks, gloves, like a paint suit, boots, and everything, and still just felt a little out of it that day. And Green Bay Country Club, I worked at Thornbury, Green Bay Country Club, and Trappist Turn, some really nice courses. Green Bay, they just wait for a calm day, they just go out, they don't wear any masks or anything. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Yeah, it's spring behind you, but it's still can blow into you. You gotta make turns and that, but I kind of felt bad because, you know, she had a little money saved up, and then she went down. It was in Fenimore, Southwest Tech, so it's, you know, 3.5 hours away. And Michaela was raised down there since she was born in July, so that whole year. We had a little, we're kind of in the basement of a house, not a real nice place, but it was okay, it was livable. But, so she was kind of down there, because she didn't have any friends, you know, she'd occasionally, you know, come out with my golfing buddies and have a couple beers or something, but, you know, she was breastfeeding a lot too, so she couldn't, you know, really enjoy it, and I think that's why, you know, after we broke up, she kind of wanted to live her college years again.
Sure.
She has, you know, she went to UWGB, but she
missed out on some of that because of the kids. Yeah. GB's not a big party school anyways, really, so.
Yeah, she didn't really do any partying when she was there. Madison's a party school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a girlfriend that we were dating, she went there too, so.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem going to class. I had a problem studying and, you know, doing the homework that was necessary.
Preparing for class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you kind of, in high school, I just kind of cram. I had a pretty good memory, so I just, you know, cram at the end and, you know, do it that way. But I couldn't pull that off in college, that's for sure. But.
Okay, so that night, that you picked her up, you went home with the kids, were your parents saw her there and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the following day that the cops came over?
Yeah, I think it was
when did you hear about it? Or did you hear anything about the body being found? Or?
No, because wasn't the body found like early Sunday morning, or was it Saturday morning?
Saturday.
Was it Saturday? So it was early, was it Saturday night or Saturday morning? I thought we were trying to.
Like afternoonish.
Oh. Yeah, okay, so it was Friday night. Yeah, so they had to come Saturday, because, yeah, when I talked to them, I said I got the kids from her. So that was what, 21st, so the 20th was on Friday.
Right.
Vicky,
what did the cops tell you when they came over?
They just said there was a missing persons report filed for Nicole. They just kind of asked last time I talked to her, you know, I told them I picked up the kids and
that was at your parents' house?
yeah.
The cops came?
Yeah, see, last time I called it was 4:34, it must have been right after she texted me. And then Vicky called me at 9 p.m. No, that was outgoing. Yeah, so they probably came around 7 or 8. Or probably closer to 8.
So they didn't tell you that night that she was deceased?
No.
Okay.
They said it was. That's what kind of confused with, you know, with
right.
the timeline and all that. So.
When did you find out she was deceased?
That's the next day around 4:30. We heard that they found a body. It was a blonde, and then had a wristband. Once I heard the wristband thing, my stomach just dropped. I'm like, oh my God, that's her.
Why did you say that?
Well, because there's not too often that when they said they found a body, it's a blonde, you know, okay, I know there's not a whole lot of murders in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And then when I heard the wristband thing, she went to a concert. So
right.
I'm like, oh my God, it's gotta be her. And then we didn't get confirmation until Vicky called us around 5:40 is when she called me. 5:30. 5:32 was the first one. You know, it was the whole day just pretty much knowing that it had to be her, but just, you know, hoping and praying that it was someone else. Because they couldn't, you know, because her body was so, you know, beaten and disheveled that they couldn't even identify her. I don't know, her family's probably getting a little impatient and...
They've been really good.
Yeah.
Who told you that her body was so beaten and disheveled?
Well, I didn't know, I just heard they found their body.
Okay.
They said around 2:30, I thought it was 2:30 in the morning, but it must have been in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when Heather and her family came out that night, probably 7 o'clock-ish, she said she said it's not the coroner, but I talked to someone, said she was shot in the head. And then, so it wasn't until, a couple days that I heard that she was strangled, her throat might have been slashed. Obviously it wasn't the news, because I haven't watched the news. I don't know if that was from Sean, that Sean might have heard it. I don't know if you heard from someone. I don't think it was like on Facebook, because people are speculating, but I don't think people are, posting that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's what we kind of figured, that it took so long to identify her, because they wanted to make her unidentifiable. But if it was Doug, if he was smart, he would have drove her a couple hours away instead of a mile from his house. But obviously when you're doing that type of activity, you're not even in the right mindset. You're not thinking. And I'm sure she, pushed into the limit. He didn't maybe intend to do it, but he did it, and it doesn't matter what, obviously she said or did to him, even if she hit him. I mean, doesn't give him any reason to harm her. I mean, we were at a party for my sister, her 21st, so this was right before we broke up in August, and we were just kind of joking. She was being kind of loud and obnoxious at a bar, and I asked the bartender if they sold muzzles there, just kind of a joke, and she just slapped me like as hard as she could, and my face was red for a half hour, and I never, even thought about hitting her back. I think pretty much that was the only time she's ever really hit me.
Mm-hmm.
Other than just kind of, punch a shot in the shoulder, or kind of wrestling around sometimes. She'd want to wrestle a couple times here and there, but yeah, I don't remember exactly where I heard that. I can ask Sean if he got that. I don't think.
And Sean is
my older brother, who I work with.
okay.
I have an older brother, and then a younger brother, and then a younger sister. That's about 9 years younger than me.
Okay.
And she was very close to Nicole. She was like, a sister to her, and
sure.
She'd always be mad at Nicole for like, really, Nicole? Like, you have to say that? And so my brother Sean has been really, gung-ho and want to get, all the details down, make sure you guys know about,
Mm-hmm.
looking into other people. We think it could be his brother, it could be a friend. We heard, the whole D name, and his name is Dave. And when we saw him at the funeral, we have another friend that he's very keen and in touch with things, and he's like, when he left the funeral, he's like, I felt like the person that was responsible for Nicole's death was at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a kind of an eerie feeling, and so, I mean, and I don't think any of Doug's friends were there, so I'd hate to think it was his brother, but if you did hurt her, and he's like, I gotta do something with this body, you're probably gonna ask, your brother, or, a really good friend to help you out if he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd hate to see him, ruin his life just to help out his brother after he made this horrific mistake. But it's hard to picture exactly what happened, and it's just, I don't know why we've gotten so many different stories, not from you guys, but
right.
just...
Well, because rumors start spreading around, and that's, people speculate on their own, and then stories start growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and branch off in every different direction.
Yeah.
So
And I know Heather wanted to see the body, I'm not sure she ever did, but I don't know why, if her body was in that rough a shape. Well, you want to see that and traumatize yourself, and I wasn't sure if I was going to bring the kids to the funeral. I mean, it ended up being a good choice, and we end up going to the burial thing too. It's like, ugh.
Well, I'm not a psychologist, but I think that that's probably, you know, they're at an age where it's not like you're going to hide anything from them. They see enough TV and they watch enough stuff that, you know, they probably get an understanding of what's going on.
Sure.
Alright. So, what I'm asking everyone, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but everyone that has any sort of personal thing with her, you don't have anything to do with it or any other knowledge of it, correct?
No. I pretty much told you everything I know. I can clarify, talk to my brother about, you know, where we heard, you know, about the body being battered with, you know, baseball bats, but so the baseball bat thing was really not the case?
I can't give any
confirm it
information on that,
yeah,
right?
I understand.
So, one of the things that we're doing is cell phone towers. We're able to gather everybody's that was in an area at a certain time period. Anyone that had their cell phone on them, some pretty cool stuff that we can do. And it downloads every single phone number from a specific tower. In fact, there's like numerous of them out here. So we're in the process of doing that, of dumping these phone numbers off these towers,
okay.
Which will show us every single number that's in the area of, you know, wherever, of her house, of where the body was discovered, all that kind of stuff. So your phone's not going to be over there at all, right?
No, I will be at home.
And I'm not trying to make you
Well,
feel like
yeah,
I'm hammering here, but every single person that I talk to, it's like, you know.
Yeah, you want to. Yeah.
I need to make sure.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't.
Yeah,
I understand you're grieving and all that. I get all that.
But I am an ex-husband, yeah.
But I have to do my job,
Yeah.
and I have to look at every possible avenue. And that's one thing that any defense, Doug's defense, anybody's defense is going to say, well, why didn't you look here? Why didn't you look there? Why didn't you question this, that?
Yeah, that's
so
why.
Those are common things.
I'm a little worried that they could try to, you know, pin it on me. Here's his, you know, ex-husband, and, you know, I do have a gun registered in my name.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a gun a handgun last December. I'm not a gun person. I haven't even fired it yet. And you'll be able to, if you see it, it hasn't been, you know, it's locked up in a case. And I actually had it on me that Tuesday when I didn't know. I tried to call the sheriff and see if Doug was released, because I didn't know if they posted bail and, you know, his parents had money and got him out. And then, you know, him wanting, I don't think he'd come out to my parents' house. He doesn't even know where we live. But, you know, that's why I was very thankful my kids were not at that house that time, you know, because he comes home and hears Nicole, and then my kids are witnesses to it, and, you know, just to think, I mean, it could have been worse. So, yeah, it's just, and I didn't tell my kids I had it, and, you know, they saw it on me, and I explained to them. They were kind of happy that I had it on me. And my dad's like, no, you're not crazy for doing that. I mean, you know, I need to protect my family, and that's why I got it for. Yeah, I plan on eventually getting a concealed carry for it, especially what's going on with, you know, Orlando. It's scary what's, you know, going on there, and political correctness is now getting people killed, and I'm a very conservative person, so I know what you guys go through, and the way that the feds have trying to nationalize police forces, and you guys can't profile and do the proactive stuff. You could, because you don't want to be called a racist or an Islamophobe, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I always commend the law enforcement, and, you know, tell my kids that, yeah, obviously nothing to be afraid of. And my uncle and my cousin met, you know, do the uniform shop down there. So.
Okay, so The only other thing I wanna ask is if you would consent to, DNA swab of your mouth, like we did of your son.
Sure.
If that's something you'd be willing to do. That way it'll also help if there's any sort of transfer from your DNA onto his clothes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, you probably want my...
Obviously, we'd already kind of have it since, you know, we have your son. I'm assuming it's your son.
I hope so.
So
it looks just like
so the male DNA would be the same regardless, but you know it could help clarify some
Yeah,
stuff.
I have no problem with that.
No problem with that. Okay, let me go grab that. I'm gonna let you read through this statement.
Okay.
Your uncle gave that up completely to Matt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't go in there as much because I don't obviously wear uniforms anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the business is going really good for him. And Matt's always on the road. We've been bowling with him this past, since September. I'm not sure if we bowled the whole year, but yeah, I've seen quite a bit. And might see him tonight. We're doing a little summer league on Tuesday nights just at Century Lanes down there. And yeah, I think Bill's been pretty much fully retired for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. Not sure how long it's been. But he's having some, health issues, and my dad has, a lot of nutritional products that could really help him out, but he's just so stubborn, and he just won't. I don't know if it's just the time to take them, or he doesn't really think it'll help, and he's taken a couple of them, and it actually did help, but it's just, some people can only help so much, and sucks because, we can't help him, and, he's had issues with the VA, and, he had to...
I think everyone has.
Yeah. What a mess that is. And apparently, there hasn't been a single male Vanderheyen in our family to live past 80. So...
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've had a history of lung cancer, and I'm sure my dad, if it's not my Uncle Bill, I'm sure it'll be my dad, because he's really healthy. I mean, he did like a standing backflip about 5 years ago, and he's 62 right now. He's a real good gymnast, and stays pretty fit and healthy, so...
Yeah, see, he's always been a skinny dude.
Yeah. But he was one of the top gymnasts in the country for a while.
Oh, really?
And then he just completely destroyed his ankle.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you this to go grab those things, and then I'll show you how to sign it. If you just scroll up and down on it, just give me a minute. Need a water or anything?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, okay. struggle trying to find the guy. Does everything look good on there?
Yeah, I just fixed, my name was, didn't have a space in capital H. I know, they even did that at the funeral. They did like Vanderheyen Meyer, and then they didn't even spell our last name right. And she actually filed for a name change, after we got divorced, but she didn't follow up. She was always terrible with paperwork, so she didn't follow up with it. It's like, now it's like, bringing our name into this, but, I guess it takes some of the pressure off Myers, if anything, so. The only thing I don't, this said, I didn't leave the house, but it says I don't know for sure, because I didn't know for sure what we did that night, but I think we just watched TV, but it just kinda,
yeah, however you want to put it. I forgot a form that I gotta go grab.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll change that to whatever you want.
Yeah, basically
Reed's kind of goofy, but.
Yeah, because I just basically wasn't sure if we watched TV or watched a movie, because I remember now it was Saturday that we watched a movie, so I think we just watched some TV. Once I picked up the kids, I went to my house and stayed in for the night. I said I watched TV with my kids and didn't leave the house for that night.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a little repetitive, but.
It is, but.
But you want to, make that clear.
It's important.
Yeah, and obviously from my phone you can see, I know it's crazy how they can, the GPS. I heard that, like, the FBI can, like, turn on the speaker on your phone even if your phone's turned off.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not if your battery's dead, but if your phone is turned off and your battery's still charged but your phone's off, maybe.
right in there. Same thing, like right in here is fine. Alright, and then this is just for the DNA collection, just stating that you hereby consent to give, it's called a buccal or buccal swab, it's an oral swabbing of the inside of your mouth, same thing we did to your son, and that's me. We advise you understand that an authorized representative of this crime laboratory will examine these samples. Basically what I'll do is just send them in to the lab, they'll go with the rest of this case.
Okay.
Then that way, for comparison purposes or whatever, so, you understand you do not have to submit to the clinic some samples, and you're doing so knowingly and willingly.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yep.
Okay. And it will not be kept permanently, which
Right.
means it won't go like anywhere for permanent.
Alright.
So if you'd sign there and then print right there if you're cool with it.
Sure.
It's a really painless process. We did the 6-month-old baby too, and that was interesting.
Yeah, he's such a good baby.
He is.
He just,
Cute.
doesn't matter, who he's with, like, I seriously been around him for, probably 10 hours over the last couple of weeks or whatever, last month, and that kid just, like, never cries. He'll whine, like, here and there, but, like, just all babies just constantly cry. He's just, and especially, going person to person, and, like, he's just a trooper. I mean, and Heather actually asked me, like, would you want him to take him, every other weekend sometime? Like, I can help out, and then I ran it by my parents, like, no.
They don't want a baby in the house?
Not so much, he's still not sleeping through the night all the time, and but my brother Sean and his wife, offered to adopt him, so they are kind of, if Heather gets custody, they definitely help out, and I'll help out here and there too, but just to keep him close to Kim and Tyler.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely important.
Yeah. But,
Okay, so you open your mouth for me. Let's do 2 for each cheek, just make sure. Done all these in the last month.
probably couldn't do just cotton swabs, 10, 15 years ago, if I had to do blood.
Yeah.
Kinda nice.
I think the evidence has come a long way. It's just a matter of getting more people, because the labs are so overwhelmed with work, because there's one lab that does it in the whole state, and there's 72 counties. And we call and harass them as much as we can to get stuff done, but it can only be done so fast, and they have to prioritize. So it seems to be.
Well, and then they had that double homicide in Hobart too.
Yeah, and then all rest of the state has stuff definitely going on.
Milwaukee is gonna be a pretty problem there. Yeah.
Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, all those.
Yeah.
So I guess the only other thing is, there's no reason why, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's no reason why, is there any reason why your phone would show being on those, when we do those tower things? Because it will literally give us every single phone number from like all those cell phone towers, and pretty much throughout the whole night.
So it shows the location of the phones then too, or does it just have the number?
It would just mean that phone was close to that tower,
Okay.
because it was using that tower.
Yeah, it won't be precise, but.
Yeah, it's not a precise thing, but, if
where
you're in Swamico, there's no way that your phone number would show up on a tower in De Pere, or in Green Bay. It would
sure I stayed in that night with the kids.
You didn't go out to the and I realize it's a month.
I know I didn't go to the concert, because my brother asked me, he's like, yeah, I was told you to go to it. And I've been to a lot of concerts, and been to one just at the watering hole, about a month before that. But I asked my parents, I'm pretty sure I just watched TV. I know I didn't go to the concert. I don't think I went out with my buddies or anything. I'm 99% sure I stayed in that.
When you do go out, where do you typically go?
Well, my best friend, he lives in Hobart, so we usually stay in this area in Doozy's or just right on Lineville there.
Oh, okay.
Last week we went to Legend Larry's. He likes to eat the wings. Yeah, we generally don't go out all that much. He's got 2 kids and he works a lot and goes up north a lot on the weekends. He's just up there last weekend. But yeah, I guess I'm 99% sure I was in that night. And I'm sure my dad or my mom will remember it. So if that you did go out for a beer or something, then I'll call you back and say, yeah, I was here.
Okay.
I don't think I would.
Because eventually it'll come out. Obviously with the phones, and I mean, it just takes a while for us to get all this. So I just don't want there to be any surprises or.
Yeah, and I don't want to say I was at home and then it comes out that even if I wasn't at the location, that it comes out that I was somewhere else that I said I was. So
right.
I don't want to have any suspicion. And I know someone asked Vicky and do you suspect his ex-husband, because that's
Well, I mean, if you watch the news or if you watch your statistics will tell you that especially like you said earlier, Green Bay doesn't have a lot of homicides, or hardly any, and the ones that they do have are close to home, somewhere somewhat tight knit, because there's just not that random. It just doesn't happen around here. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen.
Right.
It doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it just means that the likelihood of it is a lot smaller than, we're not in Chicago, we're not in, some big city where you get snatched up off the street and someone kills you. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So that's why, typically it's someone close to home, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be. And I'm definitely not saying that it was you or anything, but it's something that
you need to check it out
to cross off my list
and
say, I checked out Bryan, his story checked out, all that kind of stuff. As far as DNA goes, is there any reason that your DNA would be on her clothes?
Other than from Tyler to her. I mean, we don't have. Obviously we haven't had any contact. I don't think I even hugged her probably for at least a year.
Okay.
I don't think I even had it.
So no sexual contact at all since.
No.
Okay. Because that's all type of stuff that obviously will be checked, with DNA too. That just takes a little bit longer. Even if there would have been a condom used or whatever, there's still skin that touches, and that's a real sensitive area, obviously. So it, takes in DNA better than other parts of the body.
Sure.
You can just touch somebody or touch a table and you get touch DNA. So just want to make sure there's nothing.
Nope.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I got your number if you can think of anything, or if your family can think of anything further.
Sure.
Any input or any rumors that you may hear is obviously something that I'd be interested in listening to at least.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, rumors are usually a bunch of gossip.
Yeah.
But if you hear anything, or if you think of anything further where you were that night, if you're like, oh shit, I did go to wherever for a beer or something, just give me a call and let me know, and that way I can note it.
Okay.
All right?
Well,
thanks, Bryan. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep working on it. And,
all right. Well, thank you for your service as well.
Sorry for your kid's loss and your loss. But, I'm working